The orbital city of Nova Haven floated high above the blue and white planet of Ardanis. Glass domes reflected the sun in bright streaks, and the hum of spacecraft engines blended with the chatter of scientists, engineers, and traders from across the galaxy. Nova Haven was a marvel of human ingenuity, but it was also a place where humans often felt small among so many advanced alien civilizations. Ethan Carver walked briskly through the central research hub, his lab coat swaying behind him. His dark hair fell into his eyes, and he adjusted his glasses as he reviewed the notes on his tablet. He was a xenobiologist, fascinated by alien life forms. But more than that, he was quietly in awe of Lyra Vance, the city's top engineer. She was brilliant, confident, and calm under pressure. Ethan had admired her from afar for months, always careful not to reveal too much. He paused near one of the workstations, observing a small group of aliens and humans testing a new energy conduit. The conduit's hum was faint but steady, and the alien engineers used gestures and subtle telepathic pulses to coordinate with the human team. Ethan felt a thrill at seeing humans and aliens work together so seamlessly. "Ethan!" a voice called. It was Jara, an alien assistant from the Drell species, her skin shimmering with soft silver patterns. "Are you ready for the new sample analysis?" Ethan nodded, taking a deep breath. "Yes, I'm just checking the readings from the last trial. Everything seems stable." As he moved to the next station, he nearly bumped into Lyra. She was taller than he remembered. With a confident stance and her dark hair pulled into a neat braid, she glanced at him, a faint smile on her lips. "Oh," Ethan said, stepping back quickly. "I didn't see you there." Lyra raised an eyebrow, amused. "You never do," she said lightly. "You're usually buried in your notes." Ethan laughed nervously. I guess I am." She nodded, leaning slightly over the workbench. "And observation keeps you careful. That's why your analysis is always thorough." Ethan's heart skipped a beat. Her words were kind, but the way she looked at him made his cheeks warm. He wanted to say something clever, something meaningful, but his thoughts jumbled. They worked side by side, adjusting the instruments and checking readings. Ethan stole quick glances at her, noticing how focused she was, how her fingers moved with practiced precision. He admired her skill, her calm in the chaos of the lab, her ability to solve problems quickly. "Ethan," Lyra said suddenly, "what do you think of the new interface design?" He blinked, startled. It's efficient. Very intuitive." He hesitated. Then, in a moment of weakness, added, "I've always admired the way you—" His words froze mid-air. He had spoken too fast, too loudly, too honestly. He hadn't meant to confess his admiration out loud. His eyes widened as he realized his mistake. Lyra looked at him in surprise. For a brief second, she didn't speak. Her calm, confident expression softened into curiosity. Ethan's heart pounded. He wanted to vanish. He swallowed hard and tried to finish his sentence. But the words stuck. The room seemed louder, the humming of the conduit sharper. His colleagues, humans and aliens alike, glanced their way, sensing the unusual tension. I mean, Ethan stammered, twisting his notes in his hands. "I just admire the work you do. Your designs, they're incredible." Lyra tilted her head, her eyes studying him. Then, unexpectedly, she smiled. "Thank you, Ethan. That's very kind of you." The warmth in her voice made him relax slightly, but the embarrassment still burned inside him. He had never spoken like that before, not to anyone, and certainly not to Lyra. For the next few minutes, they worked in silence, side by side. Ethan tried to focus on the instruments, but his mind kept returning to her smile. He realized that even though he had made a mistake, he hadn't regretted it. Speaking the truth, even clumsily, felt freeing. Meanwhile, Lyra glanced at him from time to time, her curiosity growing. She had noticed Ethan's quiet dedication long before anyone else had. The way he observed, The careful attention to detail, the thoughtfulness in his work, it all showed a kind of respect and care that was rare. And now, hearing his words, she saw something more. Honesty, courage, and perhaps a gentle admiration she hadn't expected. As they continued their work, a sudden alert sounded on the main console. The new alien-human energy conduit was showing minor fluctuations, nothing dangerous yet, but enough to require immediate attention. Lyra's expression shifted to focus and determination. "Ethan, I'll need your help," she said. "These readings aren't matching the simulations. Can you cross-check the parameters?" Ethan nodded eagerly, grateful for the chance to work with her again, even as his heart still raced from the earlier moment. Together, they leaned over the console, comparing data, adjusting settings, and recalibrating the instruments. Their teamwork was smooth, almost instinctive, as though they had done this many times before. For Ethan, every movement, every shared glance felt charged with a new meaning. He realized that the slip of the tongue had changed everything. He no longer felt like a distant observer. He was part of the process, part of her world. And maybe, just maybe, she saw him differently too. By the time the fluctuation was corrected and the conduit hummed steadily again, Ethan felt a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. Lyra leaned back from the console, brushing her hands on her coat. "Good work," she said simply, but her eyes held something more, a quiet acknowledgement, a subtle spark of connection. Ethan smiled, his nerves calming. He knew this was only the beginning. Nova Haven was full of surprises, but this unexpected encounter was something he hadn't anticipated. A slip of the tongue had opened a door, and for the first time, he felt like stepping through it wouldn't be so frightening. As he left the lab, Ethan glanced back at Lyra one last time. She was already absorbed in her next task. Confident. Brilliant. And now, perhaps, aware of the admiration he had long hidden, the city outside the domes sparkled under the sunlight, full of possibility. And Ethan felt a small thrill of hope. Maybe, just maybe, this was the start of something extraordinary. The day after Ethan's slip of the tongue, the energy in Nova Haven felt different. The city's glass domes reflected the sun more brightly, and the corridors of the research hub buzzed with normal activity. But Ethan could feel a quiet shift around him. His colleagues glanced at him with subtle curiosity, though no one said anything directly. Even the aliens seemed to notice the unusual tension, their eyes flicking toward him when he walked by. Ethan tried to focus on his work, analyzing samples of a newly discovered bioluminescent microbe from the moons of Ardanus. The microbes glowed faintly in their nutrient solution. Tiny beacons of life in the lab. Normally, he would have lost himself completely in the task, but his mind kept drifting back to Lyra, her calm smile, the way her eyes had softened, and her unexpected acknowledgement of his admiration lingered in his thoughts. He knew he had made a bold mistake, but instead of regret, he felt encouraged. There was something different in the way Lyra looked at him now, as if she were seeing him in a new light. That subtle shift was enough to make his hands shake slightly as he pipetted the glowing microbes. Meanwhile, Lyra had noticed the incident as well. She had spent the morning reviewing the conduit designs, but she found her thoughts drifting to Ethan. She had always respected his scientific ability, his meticulous nature, and his quiet intelligence. But hearing his words, however clumsily spoken, made her realize that he was not just diligent, he cared deeply about the work, the people around him, and, unexpectedly, her. Lyra couldn't explain why his admission affected her so much. Humans rarely expressed such honest feelings openly, especially in a professional environment. And yet, there was something genuine in Ethan's voice. A sincerity that seemed rare in Nova Haven. She decided to observe him more closely, curious about what lay beneath his reserved exterior. As the morning progressed, Ethan was called to assist with a new task, evaluating the compatibility of alien-derived energy cells with human interface systems. Lyra was already at the workstation, her hands moving deftly as she adjusted the calibration settings. "Good morning, Ethan," she said without looking up. "Ready to check these cells?" "Yes," he replied. trying to steady his voice. I double-checked the schematics last night. Everything seems aligned. Lyra glanced at him and smiled faintly. I noticed. Thank you. Your thoroughness makes a difference. Ethan felt a flush of warmth. Her acknowledgement, simple as it was, gave him confidence. He focused on the task, carefully monitoring the energy fluctuations and recording data. The alien cells were temperamental, and even the slightest misalignment could cause a temporary shutdown. But with Lyra coordinating the adjustments, they worked together seamlessly. During a short break, Ethan found himself walking through the observation deck, watching ships glide past the city. The view of Ardanis below was breathtaking. The blue oceans, the white swirling clouds, and the sprawling human colonies. He thought about how far humanity had come, how humans had built a city that could coexist with alien species, and how Lyra represented the very best of human ingenuity and courage. His thoughts were interrupted by a voice behind him. Ethan, are you coming back to the lab? Or are you planning to admire the view all day? It was Lyra, her tone light but teasing. He turned, slightly embarrassed, and shook his head. I should get back to work. The cells won't analyze themselves. She chuckled softly. Then let's get to it. Back in the lab, they continued their analysis. The energy cells responded well to their adjustments, and the readings stabilized. As they worked, Ethan realized that the incident from yesterday, the slip of the tongue, was creating a subtle change in their interactions. He no longer felt like an observer or a timid assistant. He felt like a collaborator, a partner in solving problems and discovering solutions. Lyra noticed the change too. Ethan was speaking more confidently, offering ideas and suggestions she hadn't heard before. He asked questions, made observations, and even pointed out small details that improved their analysis. His admiration for her had sparked something larger, a confidence that allowed him to express himself in ways he never had before. Their work drew attention from other teams in the hub. Colleagues began to notice their unusual synchronization, the way they seemed to anticipate each other's thoughts and actions. Even the aliens observed them with quiet fascination, noting how the humans adapted to their energy systems with such care and precision. During a quiet moment, Lyra leaned slightly toward Ethan. I've been watching how you approach these problems, she said. You don't just follow instructions, you think, you analyze, and you care about the outcome. That's rare. Ethan blinked, surprised by her words. I try, he said softly. I want to do it right. I want to help. Lyra nodded. I can see that. And it matters more than you realize. Sometimes, attention to detail is more important than speed or strength. You have that attention. The compliment, unexpected and sincere, left Ethan momentarily speechless. He had admired her brilliance, but now he realized that she recognized his own qualities as valuable. It was a small revelation, but it felt monumental. As the day drew to a close, Nova Haven's artificial lights illuminated the city in soft golden tones. Ethan and Lyra stepped out onto the observation deck again. Watching the distant stars twinkle beyond the glass dome, the city felt alive, full of energy and possibility, and Ethan realized that he was no longer content to remain in the background. Lyra spoke first, her voice thoughtful. You've changed since yesterday, Ethan. You're more confident. He laughed softly, a little embarrassed. I guess I had a reason to be. Your words yesterday, they made me think differently. She smiled, her eyes meeting his. Sometimes, one small truth can shift everything. Even in a city as large as this. Honesty matters. Ethan felt a spark of hope. He realized that his slip of the tongue was not a mistake, it was a beginning. It had revealed something important, not just about his admiration for Lyra, but about his own courage and willingness to express it. As they parted ways for the evening, Ethan walked back to his quarters with a light heart. The ripple effect of his words was already evident. Colleagues noticed him more, Lyra regarded him differently, and even he felt a subtle shift in his own confidence. Nova Haven was a city of brilliance, innovation, and discovery. But it was also a place where human emotions, honest, genuine, and courageous could create ripples that reached farther than any technological advancement. Ethan realized that sometimes the smallest acts of truth could have the largest impact, and as he looked up at the stars that night, he wondered what other unexpected changes awaited him, especially in a world where human curiosity, courage, and admiration could spark discoveries far beyond the limits of imagination. The next morning, the central research hub of Nova Haven buzzed with renewed energy. The minor ripple from Ethan's slip of the tongue had settled into a quiet undercurrent, but it had changed everything between him and Lyra Vance. Colleagues noticed subtle differences, how the two of them moved around each other, the careful attention in their gestures, and the quiet confidence in Ethan's voice. Ethan arrived at the lab earlier than usual, hoping to review the alien human energy conduit before the day's scheduled trials. He found Lyra already there, her sleeves rolled up and a holographic interface projecting glowing circuits above the workstation. She didn't glance up at first, completely absorbed in her work. "Good morning," Ethan said softly, trying to sound casual, though his heart raced. Lyra looked up, her expression neutral at first, then softened into a small smile. "Morning, Ethan. Ready for another round of challenges?" He nodded, feeling a strange mix of nerves and excitement. The previous day's incident had left him unsure of what to expect. He had feared embarrassment, ridicule, or awkwardness. But Lyra's calm and almost encouraging demeanor made him feel welcomed. "Let's see if the energy conduit responds better today," she said, her voice firm but kind. "We need precise calibration for the prototype demonstration tomorrow." They worked side by side, adjusting the flow of the alien energy through the human interface. The conduit hummed softly, pulsing in response to their calculations. Every small adjustment required concentration and collaboration, and Ethan noticed how Lyra listened intently to his suggestions rather than dismissing them. "Try increasing the flow here by 2%, Ethan suggested, pointing at the holographic readout. "The resonance stabilizes faster that way." Lyra raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Interesting. I hadn't considered that. Let's test it." As they adjusted the conduit together, the readings improved. The hum steadied, and the glow of the energy cells became more consistent. Ethan felt a surge of pride not only for solving the technical problem but for the way he and Lyra were communicating, understanding each other without needing long explanations. Then, unexpectedly, Lyra leaned slightly closer, her eyes meeting his. "You've changed since yesterday, Ethan." Ethan's heart skipped a beat. I guess I have," he said softly. "I've realized it's better to speak honestly sometimes, even if it's awkward." Lyra's lips curved into a faint smile. "I've noticed. It makes a difference, seeing your ideas and thoughts openly. You're more confident, more present." Ethan felt a warmth spread through him. Her words weren't just an acknowledgement, they were recognition. For someone he admired so deeply, to notice his courage, even in a small way, was more meaningful than he could express. As they continued, a sudden alert flashed on the main console. The energy conduit was experiencing minor fluctuations again, this time caused by unexpected interference from the alien power cells. "Looks like we've got a problem," Lyra said, her tone calm but urgent. "We need to stabilize the system quickly." Ethan moved beside her, analyzing the data. "If we redistribute the energy in this pattern," he suggested, "we can balance the resonance without causing a shutdown." Lyra nodded. "Do it. I'll adjust the interface settings simultaneously." They worked in near silence, their movements synchronized. Ethan's hands flew over the controls, recalculating energy patterns, while Lyra made precise adjustments on the holographic interface. For a moment, time seemed to slow. The hum of the conduit, the faint glow of the cells, and the distant sounds of the city below formed a rhythm that only they shared. Finally, the readings stabilized. The hum became steady, the glow even. Both of them exhaled in unison, a shared moment of triumph. Lyra looked at Ethan, her expression softer than usual. "You did well," she said. "Your idea saved the system from a potential collapse." Ethan felt a surge of relief and pride. "Thanks, Lyra." I couldn't have done it without your guidance. Her eyes met his, and for the first time, Ethan noticed something deeper in her gaze, a spark of appreciation, of curiosity, and maybe even admiration. He realized that this was the moment when their professional respect began to evolve into something more personal, something unspoken but undeniably present. They spent the next hour reviewing the conduit's performance, making small tweaks and improvements. During a brief pause, Lyra leaned back and regarded Ethan thoughtfully. "You know," she said softly, "I wasn't expecting your honesty yesterday. Most people would have stumbled and stayed silent. But you spoke up, and it mattered." Ethan blinked, slightly stunned. It mattered?" "Yes," Lyra replied. "You've always been thorough and careful. But seeing that side of you, courage, honesty, it changes the way I see you. It changes everything." Ethan's chest tightened. He had admired her for months, but he had never imagined that a simple confession could have such an effect. His mind raced with possibilities, but he remained grounded by the moment, the conduit, the lab, and Lyra's calm, steady presence beside him. The day passed with small successes, and their collaboration drew attention from colleagues. Whispers circulated about their unusual synergy. But neither Ethan nor Lyra minded. They were focused on the work, yet aware of the subtle tension that had grown between them. It was a tension of curiosity, mutual respect, and unspoken possibilities. As evening approached, the lab's lights dimmed to a soft glow. Ethan and Lyra stepped out onto the observation deck to watch the sun dip below Ardanus's horizon. The city below shimmered in shades of gold and silver, and the distant stars began to twinkle against the darkening sky. Lyra turned to him, her expression thoughtful. "Ethan, I want you to know something. Your courage, your willingness to speak honestly. It's rare. Most people hide their thoughts, even their admiration, because they fear judgment. But you didn't, and it changed the way I see you." Ethan's heart pounded. I never expected that. I was just being honest." Lyra smiled softly, a warmth in her eyes that made him feel both nervous and exhilarated. "Sometimes, honesty is more powerful than talent, more powerful than precision. It creates connection, trust, and understanding. You've given me that today." Ethan felt a surge of gratitude. He had admired her brilliance, but now he realized she admired his courage and honesty in return. It was a connection built not on words alone, but on trust, respect, and the willingness to show one's true self. As they watched the city lights reflect in the glass domes, Ethan felt a quiet determination. The slip of the tongue that had terrified him yesterday had led to this moment, a moment of recognition, understanding, and a bond that neither of them could ignore. Lyra spoke again, almost a whisper. "There's something about working together, Ethan. Something unexpected. Something meaningful. I think we could accomplish amazing things if we keep trusting each other." Ethan nodded, feeling a warmth in his chest he had never known. I want that. I want to keep learning from you and maybe something more." Lyra smiled, a gentle curve that spoke volumes. "Then we start by facing the challenges ahead. Together." As the stars above Nova Haven shimmered, Ethan realized that his life had shifted in ways he hadn't anticipated. A simple confession, a slip of the tongue, had opened a door to trust, respect, and possibilities beyond his imagination. And for the first time, he felt truly seen not just as a scientist, but as a person worthy of admiration and connection. The ripple effect of honesty, courage, and admiration had begun. And it was only the beginning. The following morning, Nova Haven glimmered under the pale light of Ardanus's twin suns. The central research hub was alive with movement, scientists analyzing data, engineers adjusting equipment, and alien specialists coordinating their unique technologies. Amid this organized chaos, Ethan Carver and Lyra Vance prepared for a critical test. The new alien human energy conduit prototype was scheduled for a full demonstration, and every detail had to be perfect. Ethan felt a nervous excitement as he approached the workstation. He had grown more confident since his earlier slip of the tongue, but the weight of the upcoming test still pressed on him. The prototype was a delicate system. Even the slightest miscalculation could cause a cascade of failures. Lyra was already at the console, reviewing holographic schematics. She looked up at Ethan, her eyes bright with determination. "We'll need complete synchronization today," she said. "This test isn't just about the conduit. It's about showing the Council that human and alien collaboration can succeed under pressure." Ethan nodded. "We can do it. I've recalculated the energy flows, and the new adjustments should stabilize the system faster." Lyra smiled faintly. "Good. I like it when you take initiative." Their teamwork had grown steadily over the past days, and today it would be tested to its limits. As they connected the alien energy cells to the human interface, a subtle hum began to rise, filling the lab with a vibration that resonated through the floor. Ethan's hands moved quickly over the controls, adjusting the conduit's energy channels, while Lyra monitored the holographic readouts, making precise calibrations. "You're faster than I expected," Lyra said, her tone teasing but approving. "The way you anticipate the fluctuations, impressive." Ethan felt a warmth in his chest. He had admired her brilliance for so long, and now her admiration, even in small words, made him feel capable in ways he never had before. "I've learned from the best," he said, smiling. As the prototype stabilized, a sudden warning flashed across the main console. One of the alien energy cells began to overload, threatening to disrupt the system. "Ethan," Lyra called, her voice calm but urgent. "We need to stabilize the conduit immediately, or the prototype could fail." Without hesitation, Ethan moved to the panel, analyzing the readings. "If we redistribute the energy this way," he suggested, "we can balance the resonance and prevent an overload. But I'll need your help adjusting the interface simultaneously." Lyra nodded. "Agreed. Let's do it together." They worked in perfect synchronization. Ethan recalculated energy flows, manually adjusting the conduits, while Lyra coordinated the interface, ensuring the system responded correctly. Every adjustment had to be precise. Even a small error could trigger a shutdown. Yet, despite the high stakes, neither of them panicked. Their trust in each other had grown, and it guided their actions. Minutes passed like hours, sweat beaded on Ethan's forehead, and Lyra's fingers moved swiftly across the holographic controls. The hum of the conduit fluctuated as they redistributed energy, but gradually, the system stabilized. The glow of the alien cells became steady, the vibration even, and the warning lights finally dimmed. They exhaled in unison, a shared moment of relief and triumph. "You did it," Lyra said softly, her eyes meeting his. "We did it. Together." Ethan's chest swelled with pride. "We make a good team," he replied, a hint of a smile breaking through his concentration. Lyra nodded, her gaze thoughtful. "It's more than just the work, Ethan. It's the trust, the understanding. You've changed since the first day I met you. Your honesty, your courage, it's remarkable." Ethan felt a warmth in his chest, stronger than before. Her words weren't just praise, they were recognition. Recognition of his skills, his dedication, and his willingness to step forward, even when unsure. The demonstration with the council began shortly afterward. Human and alien dignitaries gathered in the observation hall, watching the prototype through transparent panels. The city's finest engineers and scientists had invested months into the project, and Ethan and Lyra's work was the final piece. As the prototype powered up, the room filled with a soft, steady hum. The alien energy cells glowed in synchronized waves, and the interface responded flawlessly to adjustments. Ethan and Lyra communicated silently, a glance here, a subtle hand gesture there, ensuring every part of the system functioned perfectly. The council members murmured with approval, impressed by the seamless human-alien collaboration. Ethan felt a sense of pride, not just for the technology, but for the teamwork, the shared understanding, and the trust that had grown between him and Lyra. During the final phase of the test, a sudden energy spike occurred. It was minor, but enough to trigger an alert. Ethan instinctively reached for the controls, and Lyra moved beside him, coordinating adjustments with calm precision. Their actions were instinctive, almost unspoken, as if their minds had learned to think as one. The spike subsided, the system stabilized, and the prototype continued to operate perfectly. The council erupted in applause, impressed not only by the technology but by the flawless execution under pressure. Lyra turned to Ethan, her eyes bright with excitement. "We did it," she said, her voice filled with quiet triumph. "I knew we could." Ethan smiled, feeling a sense of fulfillment he had never experienced before. "We really can accomplish anything when we trust each other," he replied. After the demonstration, the council members congratulated them individually, praising their skill, creativity, and teamwork. Ethan realized that the journey from a nervous slip of the tongue to this moment of success had transformed him. He had learned to trust his own instincts, to speak honestly, and to collaborate fully. Lyra, too, reflected on the day's events. She had always admired competence, but witnessing Ethan's courage and honesty had opened her eyes to qualities beyond skill and knowledge. His dedication, careful observation, and willingness to act even under pressure had proven invaluable. As the lab emptied and the city lights shimmered outside the glass domes, Ethan and Lyra stood together on the observation deck. The stars above Nova Haven twinkled like distant beacons, and the city below glowed with life and possibility. "You've changed more than I expected," Lyra said softly. "Your honesty, your courage, it's inspiring. I think we make a strong team, Ethan." Ethan felt a surge of hope and determination. "I couldn't have done it without you, Lyra. Your guidance and trust, they made all the difference." For a moment, they simply stood side by side, watching the city and stars. The day had tested their skills, their patience, and their trust. And they had emerged stronger, not just as collaborators, but as partners who respected and admired each other. Ethan realized that this moment was more than a professional success. It was a turning point in their relationship, a leap of trust that had brought them closer, revealing potential for both friendship and something deeper. Lyra broke the silence, her voice soft but certain. "Tomorrow, we prepare for the next challenge. But tonight, let's just enjoy what we've accomplished." Ethan nodded, smiling. The journey had been unexpected, filled with surprises and small victories, and he knew that with trust, courage, and honesty, the possibilities for the future were limitless. As the twin suns set fully, casting long shadows across the city, Ethan felt a quiet certainty. The slip of the tongue that had revealed his admiration was no longer an embarrassment. It was the beginning of a partnership that could change not only their lives but the future of human and alien collaboration. Nova Haven sparkled around them, a city of innovation, hope, and endless possibilities. And for Ethan and Lyra, the adventure was only just beginning. The morning air in Nova Haven was crisp and filled with anticipation. Today was the final presentation of the alien human energy conduit prototype, the moment that would determine whether their months of hard work would be recognized by the scientific council and the city's leadership. Ethan Carver felt a flutter of nerves in his chest, but it was tempered by the quiet confidence he had gained over the past few days. Beside him, Lyra Vance moved with her usual calm efficiency, checking the holographic schematics one last time. Her presence had become a source of strength for Ethan. He realized that their journey from a simple accidental confession to this shared responsibility had built something deeper than either of them had expected. Trust, understanding, and mutual admiration. "Ready?" Lyra asked, glancing at him with a small, encouraging smile. Ethan nodded, swallowing his nerves. "Ready." The council assembled in the observation hall, their seats arranged in a semicircle overlooking the lab. Humans and alien dignitaries alike filled the room, their expressions a mixture of curiosity and expectation. The prototype lay at the center, humming softly, its alien energy cells glowing faintly in preparation. Lyra took a deep breath and began the demonstration. "Today, we will show the full capabilities of the human alien energy conduit prototype. This system represents collaboration, precision, and the potential for shared innovation between species." Ethan joined her at the console, adjusting the energy flows as Lyra manipulated the interface. The system responded beautifully. The cells glowed in perfect synchronization, and the conduit hummed steadily. The council members exchanged impressed glances, whispering quietly to each other. Suddenly, a minor energy fluctuation occurred, a test of their skills and coordination. Ethan immediately analyzed the readings and suggested a recalibration pattern to stabilize the system. Lyra nodded, executing his instructions flawlessly. The fluctuation subsided, and the conduit continued its operation without interruption. The council murmured in approval. Ethan felt a surge of pride. He realized that his contributions were not just noticed, they were valued. For the first time, he felt equal to Lyra, an essential part of their shared success. Lyra looked at him, her eyes bright with quiet admiration. "You handled that perfectly," she whispered, almost to herself. "I'm glad you're here." Ethan felt a warmth spread through his chest. Her words, simple yet sincere, reminded him of the connection they had built, the trust and respect that had grown from a single slip of the tongue to this extraordinary collaboration. As the demonstration continued, Ethan and Lyra coordinated seamlessly, adjusting energy flows and interface settings in real time. Every action was precise, every movement thoughtful, and the prototype responded flawlessly. The council members began to nod, some even leaning forward, clearly impressed by the level of coordination and ingenuity on display. Finally, Lyra concluded the demonstration. The prototype has successfully maintained stable operation under variable conditions. This proves the potential of human-alien collaboration for advanced energy systems. The council erupted in applause. Some of the alien dignitaries even emitted harmonic tones, a gesture of respect and approval. Ethan and Lyra exchanged a brief smile, their relief and pride shared silently between them. After the formal congratulations, council members approached them individually. "Impressive work," one said. "Your coordination and ingenuity are remarkable." Another noted, "The integration of human and alien systems shows the potential for future projects." Ethan listened politely, but he couldn't help stealing glances at Lyra. She, too, was receiving praise. But her attention remained subtly aware of him. It was clear that their partnership, forged in trust and strengthened by courage, had been recognized not just by the council, but by each other. Once the visitors had left, the lab quieted down. Ethan and Lyra stepped onto the observation deck, overlooking Nova Haven, bathed in the warm light of the setting twin suns. "You know," Lyra said softly, "I wasn't expecting much when you spoke yesterday. But your honesty, it changed everything." Ethan's heart raced. "I never imagined that a simple mistake could lead to this," he admitted. "I just said what I felt, and everything shifted." Lyra smiled, her expression gentle. "It wasn't a mistake. It was honesty. And honesty builds trust, courage, and connection. You've shown all of that in the last few days. I respect that, Ethan. More than I can explain." Onaven. Ethan felt a quiet surge of happiness. The admiration he had held quietly for so long was no longer one-sided. Lyra's acknowledgement, sincere and thoughtful, made him feel valued not just for his skills, but for who he was. They stood together in silence for a moment, watching the city glow. The hum of the distant energy systems, the soft flicker of city lights, and the stars above created a feeling of serenity. Ethan realized that the slip of the tongue, which had once caused fear and embarrassment, had been the catalyst for something extraordinary. "I've learned something important," Ethan said finally, "that expressing what you feel, even if it's scary, can lead to the most unexpected outcomes, like trust, teamwork, and maybe even friendship, or more." Lyra's eyes softened. "I think we've both learned that. And I think we've proven that humans, when brave, honest, and collaborative, can achieve incredible things. Not just in technology, but in understanding each other." Ethan nodded. "Humans, and maybe anyone willing to work together." Lyra chuckled softly. "Exactly. It's not just about intelligence or skill. It's about connection, respect, and courage." That's what makes humans, well, remarkable. Ethan smiled, feeling a warm pride. For months, he had admired her brilliance. But now he understood something even more important. The strength of humanity lay not only in knowledge and invention, but in honesty, courage, and the ability to form meaningful connections. As the stars began to shine brighter above Nova Haven, Ethan realized that this moment marked a new beginning. Their professional partnership had grown into something deeper, a mutual admiration and trust that could face any challenge. Lyra turned to him, her voice quiet but certain. "Whatever comes next, Ethan, we'll face it together. And I think the future holds incredible possibilities for both of us." Ethan's heart swelled. "Together," he agreed. "Whatever comes, we'll face it together." The city below glimmered like a sea of possibilities, a testament to human ingenuity, courage, and collaboration. Ethan knew that their journey was only beginning, that new challenges, discoveries, and adventures awaited them. But he also knew that the bond forged through honesty, admiration, and trust would guide them through anything. As they stood side by side, watching the stars and city lights, Ethan realized that a simple slip of the tongue had revealed not just his feelings, but the potential for growth, connection, and extraordinary achievement. Humanity's greatest strength, he thought, was its ability to inspire, to create, and to form bonds that could change worlds. And in that quiet, glowing moment above Nova Haven, Ethan and Lyra understood that the possibilities ahead were limitless together.